Boeing launching a nearly $19 billion share sale to address liquidity needs. The jet maker looking to dig itself out of the trouble after grappling with manufacturing issues as well as an ongoing strike that is turning out to have a costly economic impact. A new estimate from the Anderson Economic Group says the machinist strike has already cost more than $9.5 billion. And joining me now is Anderson Economic Group CEO and Principal Patrick Anderson. Patrick, it's good to see you. So you say the ongoing strike against Boeing, combined losses, we're now nearly at almost $10 billion here. How did you arrive at that figure, Patrick? Walk me through the methodology.
We've been doing these estimates for loss events like strikes and also positive events like big investments for over 20 years. We start off with the new wages. We include the losses to suppliers. We look at the losses that customers have, if any, and we total it up using a very rigorous methodology that allows us to compare over time. We also go back and look backwards like we did previous strikes to see if anything happened in the real economy that allows us to calibrate it. So we're quite confident in the methodology, and at this point, we're looking at about $10 billion because we're a couple days past last February, and it makes it the most costly strike yet in 2024.
Let me ask you, I'm also curious, Patrick, what you didn't include in the methodology. I mean, were there certain variables that, wouldn't be included? Is it like unemployment benefits, for example?
But we don't include either unemployment taxes or unemployment benefits, either strike pay assessments or strike pay, because we don't want to double count something. We also don't include any reputational damages, and we're careful about what we count as losses to the company because, of course, strikes mean that the companies stop paying wages, so they save some money there. Then they lose a lot of money in terms of their production. So in this particular case, you see Boeing losing quite a bit. The biggest single chunk here is lost earnings for Boeing, which we're estimating at $5.5 billion. That's lost earnings flowing through to their shareholders, and that $5.5 billion is the main reason why they're out there looking for $19 more billion, because they need the capital in order to operate their company with this strike continuing now into the 7th week.
And I guess, it's interesting when you think about this, Patrick, a lot of folks might think, well, the impact must be, really in the Pacific Northwest. And I guess what you're implying here is when you really take into account the full range of variables and dynamics, it's broader than that.
It is heavily concentrated in the Seattle area, much more so than, say, the port workers strike that was spread across the East Coast and Gulf Coast, and even more concentrated than the UAW strike last year against General Motors, Chrysler, and Ford, which was spread among many auto states. However, it does extend all across the country. Boeing is arguably the biggest exporter from the United States of America. It has thousands and thousands of suppliers. Those suppliers are losing a lot of money now. They tend to be much, much smaller than Boeing, don't have the same equity. They can't go out to the capital markets the way Boeing can. So it is spread across much of the country, but still pretty concentrated in and around Seattle.
And Patrick, final question. We talk about these combined losses, and you hinted at this, but just double tap on it for us. Can you just kind of compare and contrast that with other strikes we've seen in the past?
Yeah, if we look at 2024, the strike against UPS would have been the biggest in terms of the number of workers that was averted. The port workers strike had almost no effect on the U.S. economy. It only lasted 3 days. And I think there was a lot of exaggeration of what it would have done. We looked at that kind of strike before, and it has an effect, but much smaller than this. The biggest strike of this type that we're looking at was the UAW strike against GM, Ford, and Stellantis, all three of them that went on for 7 weeks. That's the only one recently that's been any bigger than the Boeing strike, and we're closing in on it now with this strike by today probably at $10 billion.
Patrick, thank you so much for helping us think through this issue and contextualizing it as well. Appreciate it.
Good to talk with you.